Welcome to my studio. Today I'm working in this hand-created journal. It's full of papers from all different resources, different weights, etc. I am putting down some gesso, white gesso, using a spatula. No. This is what I'm using here is one of my catalyst wedges. This is the wedge 06. It's one of my favorites. You can apply pressure and get different depths, so I was able to get all that lovely text coming through while still getting things gessoed. And this is Studio 71 Yellow Ochre, and this is all the supplies will be listed below. If there's links, and that's just linking it to my Etsy store. I'm applying this with a very old toothbrush, children's toothbrush, and just really scratching it in, trying to get some nice lovely texture. And now I'm coming in with one of my favorite design elements. This is some tape that I had used to tape off a painting that I was doing on a piece of watercolor paper. And that tape with all the paint on it is just too delightful to get rid of. So I generally try and use it, save it and use it in pieces. So I'm just layering that up. Just real random, wherever feels right to be placing it. Right now I'm just coming in with some matte medium gel. This is the Liquitex brand, and I'm just covering that tape up. When the tape has been applied to paper, it sometimes doesn't stick as well, and with that paint on there, I just wanted to make sure it was well adhesed to the journal. And also, by putting a little bit of matte medium on top of that paint, if I don't like something that's on top of it, maybe I place some paint on top of it, I can easily, and as long as it's not dry, wash it back and still be able to see what's beneath. Almost like a resist. And now I am mixing some Studio 71 Cadmium Red Hue and Burnt Sienna. I am trying to make kind of like a sangria red type of a color, kind of like a Tuscany, I don't know, lusciousness. And I had actually seen this mix, I can't remember where I saw it, but they were originally mixing cadmium red medium with burnt sienna to make the sangria red, but I didn't have the cadmium red medium. I only had this cadmium red. So, and then I'm just going through a stencil, and this is a StencilGirl stencil called Totally Triangular, and I'm just using that paint with a makeup wedge. This is Studio 71 Deep Violet, and I've just used my UmWow water mister and a feather. I've been playing a lot with different tools, and I really like the thin lines and random organic lines that I got using the feather. But in this case, two things happened. It was just too much. It was too busy for me, and I just wasn't happy with that purple with those more natural colors. So you'll see here, I will start to, as I'm applying my layers, you will see that I will start to fade those back. But meanwhile, I'm just trying to see if it's really the color I'm not liking or if it's the busyness of the line. And even though I do try to go in here and really get an idea if those colors will play off of each other, I then abandon it. But not after giving it a good effort. A lot of what I've been doing lately is doing a lot of playing with color, mixing color, seeing how I like color, and making color swatches just to see what I like. And I knew I needed to dry that in order if I was going to cover it up. I didn't want it to make mud. So now I'm just coming in with some Mars Black, also in a Studio 71, with my palette knife. And I'm just going to push some of that chaos back. And one of the things I love is when you just scrape with that palette knife and you can get hints of what's underneath showing through. I really like that. And in my head, as I was doing this, I'm like, Nina, stop. Nina, stop. Stop, Nina. Stop. But sometimes we follow our intuition and our gut and not our brains, and that can be a very good thing. And this is just some matte gel medium, and I'm putting down some pieces of craft paper, little bits I had left with, a lot of these had some Lindy's spray and or coffee stains on them. And now I'm going in with my fingers, which is pretty typical, and I am going in with some yellow ochre. And now I'm going in with some TCW Heavy Body. This is an iridescent gold, so it's really gonna let you see right through it. Just kind of gives that shimmer, and I'm just coming off of areas where I had that yellow ochre. But it does give that nice shine. It's one of my favorite translucent golds. And what I'm doing when I'm tipping it, I'm looking to see where that is catching, that shine, the iridescence, the sparkle. And I, to make sure that I am liking the elements as they work with it when you see it straight on, so that no matter what vision you have of this, whether it's with the glint of the gold, you're still getting to see something that's pleasing to the eye. And so what I did here was I had that brush was just full of all that paint, and I had stuck it in my water bath, but I knew it was probably pretty saturated with paint still. And so I just pulled it out of the water bath, figured I can use it more like a wash and get it to be really translucent and just finger paint with it. And with your finger, you're really able to control whether or not, how much actual paint is there, so whether or not it's translucent or more opaque. So you can really control that. And that white spot in the center was blaring to me, so I just took some of that iridescent gold and I'm pushing that white back a little bit, but yet you still get to see the texture from, or the text coming through from the under paper. And that paper underneath was a parchment paper, which surprisingly held up very well to this. And it was old parchment, probably from, not super old, but like from the early 90s, maybe even late 80s. One thing I love about finger painting is that you really have control over that paint. And finger painting on paint that's drying, with a wet paint on your finger, you can get those beautiful edges on textures, and you can control how thin or how thick that paint gets, how soft your edges are, which I struggle with a brush. So I use my fingers. And you can see it's getting a little dry there, and my finger's not moving smoothly, but it gives you a whole different look. Sometimes if I don't want that, I will come in with a baby wipe and moisten my finger a little bit to get it to be smoother without applying more paint. Here I've just applied a little bit more of the black because I want it intense along the edge. And this is a piece of a glassine envelope. I cut half of it away, stuck that tag in there, folded it up, and now I'm going to stitch it. Oh yeah, I forgot I did this. This is an old tab, like a gummed tab. Super old. Did a zigzag. And then that white was just bothering me. So I took this translucent iridescent gold and just kind of went over the stitching and that white to push it back a bit. Kind of blend it in a little bit. Get that good and dry, and I'm going to adhere that. With drying times, this took me, real time was 40 minutes. I did speed this up to 150, felt too long, so I actually took out most of the drying time. Added my text, and now I'm going to apply that with some matte medium gel. And that's all she wrote. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, head on over and click on the subscribe. If you want to see other works, I do have an older channel. The link to that is up on the channel tab. And I am on Patreon and Instagram. Links for everything are down below in the description. Got any questions? Leave me a comment. I would love to respond.